Hey guys, welcome to Finally Clicked, the podcast where we discuss business, leadership, and personal development. My name is Margaret Smith, and I'm the Director of Operations for Pickett Street Properties, a real estate team out of Bothell, Washington. And I'll be here every week with our owner and team leader, Jesse D. Moore. We'll be digging into concepts and ideas that have helped us both personally and professionally. And you'll also get a chance to hear from local and national experts that we know provide massive value to get to the point where it all finally clicks. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Finally Clicked with Margaret Smith. I am launching into another little mini moment with Mo here. Jesse's gone for the rest of this week, but he'll be back next week with Finally Clicked, so don't despair. He will be back, and I can promise you we'll have some really excellent upcoming episodes with him as well. So I put the question out there on social media. If you didn't see it, you can go find it right now on Instagram and on Facebook, just asking you guys what you wanted to hear more about from me, and specifically with these mini moment episodes. I want to make sure that I kind of hit some things maybe that we haven't had a chance to tackle yet in some of the longer episodes, and give you something that you can easily listen to in like 10-minute time frames. So some of the suggestions I got were self-care, leading, managing, and the 411, how to find your passion, what inspires me specifically, and then what I look for in other leaders. Another one was how to get shit done. And so today I'm going to choose to tackle self-care, primarily because I got a message from someone on Instagram, and I was like, oh, okay, this needs to be tackled immediately. And so I'm going to keep the anonymity, of course, but this person just lost someone very close to them in their family in the last couple of weeks. And they were like, Mo, what do I do? I took a week off. I'm back in the office, and I'm not my old self. I'm not operating at a high level. I don't think my team leader is going to be okay with this if this continues. And I was like, oh, hun. And so it prompted me to write down some ideas and suggestions, and keep in mind, like, full disclosure, I'm not a counselor. I am not, I'm a social worker background, but not a licensed therapist or anything like that. All I can do is share with you my experiences and experiences that I've learned from other people in my life, both family and friends and other colleagues from around the US. So keep that in mind as you listen to this episode, that this is absolutely just my thoughts off the top of my head and what works for me. And it does not mean it will work for everyone. So, but I have a lot of empathy and a lot of sympathy for people, and I think we're oftentimes so hard on ourselves. So self-care is not selfish. I mentioned this in another episode, I believe with Enmei, we talked about this a little bit, that one of the things I'm having to work on is changing the wiring in my head so that I understand and fully believe that self-care is not selfish. The idea of self-care is really, it's interesting if you look at it now, how popular of a topic it's been to talk about these last couple of years. It's very popular with people that are all over Instagram, social media, the news, things that people are writing books, right? There's all sorts of resources out there. Now, I think when I talked about this with Enmei, she said, this is one of the stories that I had kind of taken on from my mom specifically, because my mom, it's really hard for her to ask for help. And same for me. And it was just how she was raised, I think, you don't really need to take time to care for yourself or do things that will necessarily fuel you. And it's part of the reason why I know I do accomplish so much, is that kind of innately in me to be relentless. I get that from my mom, and it's a beautiful thing. But as far as the self-care piece goes, I know that when I take some time to be quiet, which is what I need oftentimes, and to do things that fuel me, I can then better go off and fuel other people and be the light that I'm supposed to be and am in this world. That's my number one go-to every day, is I want to be the light that inspires people, that helps people understand that they are important as well and that they have a purpose in the world. So self-care is not selfish. So I have a couple things. First off, I didn't really number these out, but you know me, I do like to number as I go. So number one, in regards to this particular person who reached out to me, feel your feelings. I was talking to, and I don't think she'd mind me saying her name on the podcast, I was talking to Christina Jaggles, who we've had on the podcast before. She's a local TC here in the Seattle area, and she just lost her dog. And so for her to grieve over one of her best friends is super hard, and she hasn't ever fully allowed herself to grieve before. And I think I fell into doing this because I was kind of, in a way, forced to. If I can fully explain myself, I'll try. So I was not very close to many people growing up, like middle school, high school. I didn't get some of my closest friends until college. And so I had a few friends, though, in high school that I was close to. I was definitely like 2 or 3 people, like 2 people I can name off right now. And I would talk to them, but still I did a lot of internal processing. And what happened was, because I was left to myself, I was really forced to feel those feelings and sit in them and just sit in them, feel it. It was awful. It's not like a great place to be. And yet I understood that if I felt those feelings, eventually it would get better and I would feel better. Now, again, this is just my experience. Not everybody's the same way. Some people can't get out of those feelings. And, there's all sorts of things you can do when you feel like you don't have control in some way. But all I can tell you now is that by feeling those feelings and pushing through them and understanding that it's okay to feel grief, to feel angry, to feel sad, to feel mad, and there's ways to do it that are healthy. Allow yourself to. I think oftentimes we just try so hard to push through and not sit in those feelings for a minute that we ignore the feelings and they end up festering in us and creating problems further down the road. So I'm a full proponent also, if we want to talk about dating for a second. When I break up with someone, I absolutely do not go off and date anybody else right away, because I have to grieve over the loss of that friendship, that person, that relationship. And I know it's often like the icky place that people don't want to sit in. But for me, if I don't do that, I won't ever move on. So feel the feelings. Second of all, write out a plan. And I encourage you to go and talk to the owner or your boss or whomever you work with when something like this happens and you've lost someone in your life that's really important, and write a plan out. Because oftentimes if we don't bring it up, they will never know that we need help, right? And so I know that most people that I know of in this circle that own companies and teams and manage people and lead people, they want to help. They want to be creative. And that's one of the things I've learned from Jessie, that oftentimes in the beginning, I had such a fear that I think is just kind of commonplace. My fear was of being fired. So silly, right? And yet very real for, I would say, the majority of the population that are employed. And so I was hesitant to bring anything to him that might put my job at jeopardy. And so it took probably 4 years until I was really comfortable enough that I realized, oh, Margaret, if you bring him an issue or a concern or a problem or something that you're struggling with, oftentimes he's able to figure out a better solution than I am. So my recommendation to you, to this person in particular, would be feel your feelings, write out a plan. If you don't know what the plan is, go talk to your team leader. And I would bet you that they'd be willing to work with you on perhaps working from home for a little bit more. I would recommend really taking another week off. If I had lost one of my family members that was that close to me, I would need time. I can assure you that I would, and I would not be at full capacity for probably 6 months. And that's just very real. So there are ways to get by in business when our life is our life. And for me, my business life and my personal life are very much intertwined, because it's my passion and my mission to do what I'm doing in my job, inspire people. That's not just a business life value of mine. That's what I want to do with my life. And so when things intertwine like that, you have to acknowledge them. So I don't even know where I'm at. I think thirdly, I want to recommend a podcast that I listened to a couple weeks ago on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. I love her interviews that she does. And she did one with Dr. Eva Eger, I think is her name. She was a Holocaust survivor, and it's called We're Born with Love, We Learn to Hate. And if you know me, this might make you laugh, because people that know me know that I have always had an interest in the Holocaust. And I think it's because I desperately want to understand the why behind things. And I don't know that I'll ever understand the why behind that. But this Dr. Edith I believe she's 90, and she's incredible, just incredible. And so go listen to that episode. And I just think it might help you right now kind of determine where to go from here. So those are the things I have to say specifically around that person's request. And then to go on and give you an example of what my self-care plan looks like. And believe me, it's so funny that even as I'm talking through it, it's hard for me to talk about things that are helpful to me. I don't know why exactly, but it definitely is. So I know I have to do them. My morning meditation, which a lot of people know that I read the Miracle Morning book. And that is really what prompted me to start doing this regularly. That was back in October. So now I take half an hour to 45 minutes every morning to meditate, anywhere from 3 minutes to 20 minutes, depending on how I feel that day. I read, I have a cup of coffee with me, and just taking that time for myself in the morning makes me feel like I've already done something for myself, so that I'm ready to give to other people. Because I know from the moment that I leave my door that day, most typically like 80% of my day is about other people, right? As it should be, like, and probably more accurately, 95% of my day is about other people. And I want to be my best version of myself for them. So that morning piece is essential, I've realized, to my energy and to what I'm able to give. And then after work, after I leave the office, anywhere between 4:30 to 5:30 is usually when I leave. I go and walk around Green Lake, which is a local lake. It takes about 45 minutes to walk around, and also like 20 minutes to drive there, 20 minutes to drive home. So I have some time in the car to listen to music, listen to a podcast. I listen to something usually around the lake, or I'll call a friend that I haven't called and talked to in a while and talk to them on that walk. Or not, or I'll go in complete silence, or with music on is probably like my number one, what I love to do. And then 2 to 3 days a week, I will do hot yoga. And hot yoga, I started probably 6 years ago. It was right after I started here at Pickett Street. Actually, Jesse suggested that I try it out. And I was like, oh no, I'm not one of those hot yoga princesses. And then a friend joined the team and she suggested that I do it with her. So I tried it and I'm completely addicted. So for me, I grew up doing basketball and volleyball. And I don't want to put that kind of pressure on my knees anymore. I've been playing volleyball for a very long time. And so I've really switched over to hot yoga and found that it is absolutely life-changing. Not only the heat, but the stretching is essential for me, my body, and for my mind. It's an hour in which I'm just entirely focused on what that teacher's doing. I don't pay attention to anything else. It's been life-changing for me, for sure. And then last year, one of the things I did was I got a monthly massage membership, which is totally a luxury for me. It feels like an absolute luxury. And it's probably it was the hardest thing for me to commit to because I felt like it was above and beyond what I should be doing. And yet I'm very much like a physical touch is one of my love languages, as is quality time. So I think that's why I love to hug people so much. And so the monthly massage thing has been amazing. It's like, I feel like I'm treating myself in such a huge way. Once a month I go in there, and it's also down by Green Lake, which is where I walk. So typically I'll walk, go get a massage. And that has been critical for sure. And then the last thing I'll say is that I absolutely have at least, I would say 3 times a month, a date with myself. And that could be going to a coffee shop and reading, getting a coffee. It could be going to a movie by myself. I go to movies by myself. No joke, at least once a month. I love movies. It's like an escape for me since I don't watch TV. It's really, besides a book, it's the only other way that I allow myself to kind of check out for a little while. So those are some of the self-care tips. And again, there are a bunch online. I just really encourage you guys that no matter what you do, no matter what you read, what you listen to, that you find out what works for you and really take the time to do it. And self-care is something that everybody can do. You do not have to have money to do it. Self-care comes in many different forms, and really all it is just sitting down with your feelings and with your thoughts and allowing yourself to feel and to think and to process. Doesn't matter if you're an external processor. Maybe that means finding a friend that you can talk to who will listen to help you process. If you're an internal thinker or internal processor, finding time in the day to really allow yourself to sit. And it doesn't have to be so intentional. Like, I don't sit down with journal prompts to help myself process. One of the things I do that I learned from May as well, and May I keep referencing, she was in episode 13 with us, and one other episode too, I'm forgetting which number, but she has been a fantastic resource. And one of the things that she taught me was to say, I love it when ... So sometimes in the morning, one of the things I'll journal is, I love it when I meet new friends. I love it when I have money in the bank. I love it when I make a connection on social media. I love it when I travel outside the state. And so rather than focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you would love to have and what you love when it happens. So those are some self-care tips. Please feel free to comment with your tips and what you've done, what your routine is, and share this episode on social media or with your email buddies, whoever. But I really appreciate those of you that are taking the episodes and sharing them in your stories on Instagram or on Facebook. I really appreciate it. Let me know what other kind of episodes you guys would like to hear about from me, and we'll see if Jesse wants me to continue this when he gets back from his trip. But I really appreciate all the interaction you guys have been giving me, and keep an eye out for another Little Mini Mo episode this week. Have a great day.